Speaking section. 1. Please listen carefully. Describe a skill you have that will be important for your success in the modern world, and explain why this skill is so important. Include details and examples to support your explanation. You may begin to prepare your response after the beep. Please begin speaking after the beep.
In this question, you will read a short passage, listen to a talk, and answer a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response. Begin reading now. Now listen to two students discussing the article.
What do you think about this announcement?
To be honest, I'm completely opposed to the plan.
Really? Why?
Because shutting down the fitness center isn't really going to save much money. I mean, sure, the building is really old, but even if it isn't used on a regular basis, the school still has to maintain it. They have to make sure it is safe and that it doesn't become a fire hazard or something like that.
I didn't think about that.
Right, and even tearing the building down will be expensive because of all the construction workers they'll have to hire. Plus, once it's gone, we're going to need to replace it with something new, so we shouldn't shut down the gym just to save money.
You make a good point.
And it's not like all the students can easily use the gyms in the city. The closest one is a 30-minute drive from school. How are people who live in dorms on campus supposed to reach them if they don't have their own car?
I took a taxi to one of the gyms and it cost nearly $20. I can't afford to pay them much money every time I want to exercise.
Exactly. And even if you can afford to pay for a taxi, it will be really challenging to get one if you want to exercise late at night. I don't think that was really considered when the decision to close the fitness center was made.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
In this question, you will read a short passage, listen to a talk, and answer a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response. Read a passage about relict behaviors from a biology textbook. You will have 50 seconds to read the passage. Begin reading now. Now listen to part of a lecture in a biology class.
Okay, so a good example of this, found right here in North America, is something an animal called the American pronghorn does. Pronghorns, as you may know, are a kind of deer-like animal. They live out on the open, grassy plains, somewhat in the middle of North America. And they are super fast. Pronghorns are, in fact, noted for being the fastest animal in the Western Hemisphere. Once a pronghorn starts running, zoom! None of its present-day predators, like the bobcat or coyote, can even hope to catch up with it. It's off in a flash. Okay, so why then do pronghorns run so fast? That's the question. Well, it turns out that quite a long time ago, I'm talking tens of thousands of years, things on the grassy plains used to be very different for the pronghorns. Because back then, lions used to live on the plains, chasing and preying upon the pronghorns. And lions, of course, are a very swift-moving mammal, much faster than the bobcat or coyote or other predators that you find on the plains today. But now, however, lions are all extinct in North America. They're no longer a predator of the pronghorn. Tens of thousands of years ago, though, the lions were there, chasing the pronghorns. So, back then, the pronghorn's speed was critical to its survival.
Using the example of the pronghorn and lion, explain the concept of a relict behavior. Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep. In this question, you will listen to part of a lecture and answer a question about it. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare a response and 60 seconds to record the response.
Let's continue our discussion of animal adaptations by talking about special features that make it possible for certain fish to survive in the deepest part of the ocean, a place where almost no light reaches. Specifically, I'm going to talk about two very different features. All right, to start with, some deep-sea fish have large tube-shaped eyes that always point upwards. One such species is known as the spookfish. These fish live thousands of meters below the surface of the ocean in almost total darkness. However, since their unique eyes point upward at all times, they have the ability to spot the faint outlines of fish swimming above them in parts of the ocean where a little light can reach. Once they spot such fish, they quickly swim upwards and eat them. I should also mention that their eyes are really huge, so they are able to detect even extremely tiny fish passing above. Next up is a type of fish that is able to create its own light. The lanternfish has a series of tiny organs throughout its body that give off light thanks to a chemical process called bioluminescence. Actually, this is the same chemical reaction that many different sea and land animals use to produce light. Anyways, the lanternfish can make itself bright enough to attract the attention of other fish in its surrounding area. If these fish are small enough, they become prey for the lanternfish. This makes it a very efficient hunter, despite the darkness of its natural environment. Interestingly, they can even use this special light to protect themselves from other organisms by matching the intensity of light coming from above. This makes it much harder for potential predators to spot them from below.
Begin to prepare your response after the beep. Begin speaking after the beep.
According to me, a skill I have that will be important for my success in the modern world is hard work. I think hard work is mainly important for success for two reasons. Firstly, to achieve goals. For example, when I was in my intermediate, I worked hard and struggled hard to get first rank in my college, and I have achieved it. This is just because of hard work. Secondly, to get good name and fame in the society. For example, when I was doing my BSc nursing, I worked hard in the community setup to get good name from the society, and this is mainly because of hard work. So I think hard work is a key to success.
According to the announcement, the campus fitness center will be closed. This is because the school can't afford to maintain it properly, and students can go to private gyms in the city for free if they want to exercise. The woman opposes this. To begin with, she points out that the university will still have to maintain the building even if the fitness center closes because it could become a dangerous fire hazard. On top of that, it will be very expensive to hire construction workers to tear down the building and replace it with something else. Moreover, she argues that all of the gyms in the city are quite far from the university, so it could be hard for students to reach them if they don't have their own vehicle. The closest one is more than 30 minutes away by car. Additionally, it can be quite hard to find a taxi from campus into the city late at night.
The man we just heard is pretty happy with this change undertook by the director. He states that they currently practice very little because they don't have very regular or and rehearsal times. By practicing more in preparation for competitions, they will improve their singing quality at the same time that they can level up their singing proficiency with the current competition in other universities. That way, they will also establish a cycle where further improvements will encourage the students to rehearsal more and practice more.
Ironic behavior is a behavior or a quality that a creature still shows, although the reasons for having developed that behavior or quality has long disappeared. For example, in the evolution, animals needed to flee from their predators, like the pronghorns had to flee from lions who were preying upon them. Thus, they needed to be very fast and would have to run very fast. But nowadays, the lions are extinct in North America, and the current enemies of the pronghorns, the bobcats, and the coyotes are much slower than the lions used to be. And the pronghorns actually don't need to run that fast anymore, but they still have the ability to do so and still show that behavior.
The lecturer explains how two animals survive in environments without much light. To begin with, she describes how the spookfish uses tube-shaped eyes to hunt its prey. She notes that it lives in almost total darkness. However, its eyes always point upwards, so it can spot the faint outlines of fish swimming above it. When this happens, it quickly swims upwards to catch and eat the fish. Its eyes are quite large, so it is able to notice even very small prey. Second, she describes how the lanternfish is able to produce its own light to both catch prey and escape from predators. She says that it has tiny organs throughout its body that produce light through a chemical reaction called bioluminescence. As a result, it can attract the attention of other fish which it eats. In addition, it uses the light for protection. By matching the intensity of light sources above it, it can disguise itself from potential predators.